the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
Danny is lifelong friend of ours.
Yeah.
One of my business partners.
Yeah.
And you are a business owner yourself.
Yep.
What are you here to educate about tonight?
Well, the biggest topic at the moment going around is men's mental health. So I thought if I come on and share my story of my mental health, and yeah, just kind of discuss a little bit more of what I do, my daily routine to combat the mental health, and then me share my story, if that can contribute towards anyone else that's struggling with, mental health or worries, anxieties, depressions in life, then, that's a positive.
Yeah.
And again, I can see your platform taking off. So again, hopefully it will touch someone in the right place.
Because it's massive now. I think it's a massive thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's getting more and more spoke about. It was hardly ever spoke about, but now it's getting more and more spoke about. But there still are. It's a massive problem at the minute. That
my biggest thing is that it is starting to be spoken about, and we should speak about it.
Yeah.
But what we never discuss, and it's like a lot of things in the world today, is we don't discuss about what's the cause effect. It's almost like
prevention rather than cure.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of some of the bits I want to touch on about how I deal with my daily routines. And granted, it's not perfect, but it suits me. And if people can take snippets and pull it into their own life, then great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest thing for me, and it's like with medicine, it's like there's always, we're talking about the cure, but where's the prevention? Why is it happening in the first place? Do you know what I mean?
To the root of the problem.
The root of the problem.
Agree,
Let's discuss, around what's built up around in, society at the moment that's causing the mental health. And then from them, we can either, the younger generation come through, we can stop them from getting to places where I've been and, the generations that are suffering now. Or let's kind of, bring the levels down to, because you're always going to have stresses. It's part and parcel of life. And some stress is good, isn't it? Like, not all stress is negative. It's just where it takes you.
But you're never going to avoid, like you said then, that there's no cure because you're never going to avoid it. It's always going to be there. But I think you doing that, having a personal story, every mental health problem or any depression is a personal thing to them.
Yeah.
So a blanket mental health is never going to really key with anyone. So
Agreed.
More things that you talk about personally and people go through, especially someone like you, like say we missed our top footballer as well.
Okay.
I had to get that in for you.
I do apologise.
Yeah, I thought that he thinks
I
he's
did
your
get
friend.
paid a very small amount.
Yeah.
Still,
Well, we won't go into it,
classing
but
that.
we'll just say top
I
footballer.
thought I was going to get my ego rubbed. You promised me that.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But yeah, so. But you what you know what I mean? You've got it together. You're a good guy. You're somebody that people know as somebody who has had a successful time in doing what you're doing in all areas.
Yeah.
And for you to open yourself up, I think it's brave. So yeah.
I was about to say that. I think it's a very brave thing to do. So thank you very much.
No, I just think if I'm
doing
going to put my vulnerability out there and then, show that it's not, because I think everyone sees the success and the laugh and the smiles, but no one sees the struggle.
Correct.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
No one sees that. And I don't think a lot of people
closed
talk
doors,
about it, behind the closed doors. So
Yeah.
that's just generally, my story's not special or any worse than anyone else's. I just think this is my story.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad at some points, but fuck it, I'll
But
share it.
That's
You
the
know what I mean?
story. Everyone can get it. Everyone does get it. Do you know what I mean? So the things that you provide to get yourself through it are going to help other people. So yeah,
I think you touched on the most. I think some people look at me like I've got it all together, and there's some days I have, but it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And it's took a lot of discipline and heartache and struggles and God knows what before. I'd like to say now, this last 6 to 8 months, I think I feel the better I have done, but I've been to the worst place I ever have done.
Why do you think it's hid so well? Is it you putting on a brave face, or do you just go missing? Like, why do people not see what goes on?
You probably have to answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
I've never thought that about myself, because you never do you?
No,
But then when I speak to certain friends, look, like you've got it all boxed off, you're sorted. But maybe because I don't go out as much maybe now, or maybe I just got a smile on my face. But yeah, I think,
I think also it's a low, not to say you got a low bar, but it's a low bar that we set of everyone getting it. We just accept people with a job, family, you got it going on, which is probably why no one talks, because they go, you got it going on, you pay your car, you pay your house, you pay that's nothing to do with your mental health. That might be causing your mental health. But
yes.
You look like you got it going on because you've got all them things in order, but generally that's what we're talking about.
That's a really good point, because people look at someone and go, oh, he's got this watch on, he's got this car, he's got this house, he's able to buy this, that and the other, and I think, oh, he's boxed off. Like Instagram's a perfect example of that, isn't it? It's like, oh, look at all these people living amazing lives.
Yeah.
But what they don't realise, as soon as that, stops filming,
reality
kicks in, and they're probably really struggling. Do you know what I mean? So that's a personal example of like how people perceive people.
We actually had a joke about that we should set up a social media platform where you only show the shit bits. So instead of all this,
idea.
when you're having an argument with your family at a dinner table, post that. Do you know what I mean? You know, instead of
when you're telling your kids, when you come in and you're like, oh, there's no toilet
When you get a
roll.
flat tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you could make it really
This is
light-hearted,
shit.
couldn't you?
When your missus
Real
does
life.
the directions going anywhere. Oh,
There'd be a lot of Mrs. ones, is that what you say?
they did go there really quick, didn't they?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
So-
good subject.
So tell us a little bit about your story then, and where it comes from. I know you spoke a lot about, you mentioned the term mental health,
Yeah.
and you're going to tell your story from, just paraphrasing you, from your point of view. So this isn't about you coming on and providing solutions to mental health. What you're doing is you're sharing your story. It's unique to you.
Yeah.
And the struggles that you had
Yeah.
and how you cope with it now. Have I summed that up?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
I think if we start off the fact that maybe what I touched on is why men are struggling with mental health first, and then probably I'll go into my story because it's like, let's have a conversation why we think this is happening, and then obviously I'll touch on mine. I think the biggest thing for me is, without knowing it, is the temptations of society and everything that society has to offer.
Yeah.
So, you can go from, alcohol, drugs, porn, there's all kinds of things that the temptations that are there that kind of, it's easy just to turn to. When you're having a bad day, you think, well, I need to stimulate the brain. I need an easy fix.
Yeah.
And I think society's offering us more, if iPhones, for instance, all phones, should I say?
Yeah. But you've got everything at the touch of a button, haven't you? Everything's just too easy. Everything's just too easy.
And it's just like, instead of having a bad day and maybe doing something proactive, as in going for a run or doing something that, that can stimulate you that way, I think it's just easy to turn to something that's
Instant
just
gratification.
I was just about to say that thing. It's the preference of instant
Mm.
gratification over delayed gratification.
yes.
Yeah.
So like going for a
Happiness.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happiness versus pleasure.
Yeah.
And that's a really deep argument, isn't it? We spoke about that.
Yeah,
haven't
we have.
we?
Yeah,
Quite
that's
a
why
lot.
I was like, we
Yeah.
can't get into that. But
Yeah. I mean, happiness versus pleasure, the differences between the two things. But I think it's really important. But when you talk about the temptations in society, I think that is people seeking immediate pleasure
Yeah.
in order to perhaps mask something else
Yeah.
that they've got going on.
Well, I kind of
themselves.
call it like an empty pleasure. Do you know what I mean? It's not an empty reward.
Yeah,
in
well,
the
it don't
sense-
last long, does it?
It doesn't last
No.
long. And if anything, it comes back twice as hard to hit you. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You go for a run, you come back, there's no negative from going for a
No.
run. And I mean,
Problem
run
is
as an
going for-
example, there's numerous things you can do. I don't play an instrument or something that's...
But they're
you
all
know,
difficult.
But it's like, that's what I mean. It's like
takes
cheating.
time.
It takes time, yeah.
Yeah.
People don't want that
No.
reward because your brain, releases
Yeah.
like dopamine from stuff that gives you rewards, like
Yeah.
runs and stuff. But so does alcohol. So does the things that I've mentioned that are negative habits. So people, it's easier to reach for that and think, I haven't really got to work for this dopamine. I'll just have a drink
Yeah.
or I'll have a cigarette.
Yeah.
Where
Well, it's
actually,
cheating, yeah.
It's cheating, exactly that. And I think
And it's almost karma paying you back for cheating, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
and I
like a
think-
quick fix.
When you think about the reason why that happens, though, every action that you do has a consequence, whether it's
Yeah.
positive or negative, right? So the problem is that with alcohol, it gives you the consequence of that is it's a poison, it's
Yeah.
a toxin, right?
Yeah.
So you're actually poisoning your body.
100%.
That's the consequence. However, it comes with pleasure.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you go for a run, and the consequence is positive.
Yeah.
You become more healthy.
Exactly.
It hits you with pain
Yes.
first,
Yes.
and it's that.
That's a really
yin
good
yang.
point.
That's
yeah, I've
there's
never
something
looked at that.
that's
Where if you get it by a bus on your run?
the
That's
whole
instant
theory's
pain.
fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. Then you've tapped out. You haven't got to worry about nothing, have you?
Yeah, I thought I just said something quite insightful there. But
Sorry. I just seen it. I apologise. We'll cut that out.
No.
But no, that's a
you're
really
right.
good point,
You're
and that's what I'm getting at. I think we're too easy to reach for the easy stuff,
Hmm.
and I think another thing is the fact that this is my take on what I've gone through is the fact that from the age you're born till, I don't know, 10, 11, your mum and dad look after you. You're selfish, aren't you? You haven't got to do anything. Everything's done for you.
Yeah.
And then you hit your teens and you start going out. And again, you're still in that selfish mode of, I haven't got to think. I've got no responsibilities. I go to school, come back, worry about what I'm going to do on a Friday night, what girl I'm going to pull.
Yeah.
All them things there. Then you get into your 20s And it's the same kind of thing there. Like you're going out on the pool, you're going out with the lads, you're getting pissed. You're selfish. Like you haven't got to worry about anything. You might start working.
I was really enjoying that. I was remembering stuff.
Yeah, I'm taking you back. I'm taking you back. Yeah, easy life.
Yeah,
so everything's just easy. You're selfish. You've got no responsibilities.
Yeah.
And it's just about living, isn't it? And then my story is kind of when I start hitting my 30s, for instance, and once responsibility started kicking in, you know, I got married, I had kids, you know, I started to take my work to a different level, to the, you know, a more of a where I started running businesses and stuff. And I think what happens, and this part of life hits you in different phases, depends when you have these responsibilities kick in. But for me, I think that's what happens. Life then starts getting serious.
Yeah.
And then I think your brain isn't used to that seriousness. Does that make sense? Like,
no, 100%.
You know, you're not used to all these responsibilities. You're not trained it. So I believe your brain's like a muscle.
Although I do think 30, though, that's young to start worrying that much. Was it when literally as soon as you hit your 30s, that's when you were feeling the pressure?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say when I got
me.
married, it's like shit. I mean, I went a bit AWOL before I got married. Like I got like cold feet, so to speak. So yeah, when I started thinking, right, I've got to get married. I've got to stop going out. I've got to stop going out with the lads.
Having a baby.
I've got a baby on the way.
When people come out of people, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Serious times.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That made me go, oh, wow. I've got to
I
do
suppose,
with that.
Yeah, you got to look after that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I better start doing ice baths.
Well, that's why I am now. I've got 2 daughters. I'm ice bathing everything. I'm like that.
Or worst case, you put them in the ice bath.
Yeah.
That keeps them quiet.
No, I agree with that.
But yeah, so for that kind of thing there, that's kind of thing when you hit 30, and going back to what you said, is your brain's like a muscle. So, you know, it's not used to this kind of pressure or, you know, activity. So then it's adapting. It's got to learn or a whole new way of living. Like you've been selfish, doing everything you've done. Now responsibility kicking in.
It's a big change.
It's a big change. And I think for me personally, that's how my take on what affected me is because obviously, you know, all these new responsibilities were just overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's also an element of growing up quick.
Definitely.
Because that young little version of yourself is still in there. And
wanting to stay there.
Wanting to stay there.
Yeah.
And I think that is a common thing amongst men. Without all joking aside, I think men take much longer to grow up. And we hold on to our youth for so much more.
Why have
longer.
you grown up? I haven't grown up.
Well, why do younger women go of older men? It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Because, you know...
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Do you know what I mean? Because men mature later, don't they?
Much
Do you know what I
later.
mean? So it's
Much
that
later.
like, you've got to admit, like, it takes you a while to grow up. Even now, we're all fighting with our demons. We still want to go out and just, you know, get pissed and have a laugh, don't you? But, and that's what Joe's talking about, isn't it? That inner you.
Lockdown taught us that. We just went into 6 weeks holiday mode. We was going on our bikes. We took packed lunches out. We was allowed in late. We was allowed in late when the lights were off. Good times.
We nearly died on a push bike.
Oh, I'm died on a push bike.
I was crogging him down Forester Grove.
Crogging.
How amazing a crog.
I was crogging.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You miss all them days, don't you? When
really.
you look back, as much as you know.
We recreated them, but when you're older, you hurt more.
Yeah.
And
that seat hurts when you're crogging, doesn't it?
Yeah. You don't want to start as late.
Who was crogging who out of curiosity?
He was crogging me, of course.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but I went to turn the corner and we was going so fast down Carlton Hill before I turned onto Forester Grove that I turned too quick, and we'd had a few drinks, so I was cocky as well.
Obviously.
On a bike. Yeah. And the tyre ripped off the rim, and I just fell flat on the concrete with Luke on top of me. It was a serious accident.
I got up and I was winded. I was like, "Oh, it's really hurt." And you know, there was a woman going, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm an adult. We shouldn't have been doing it." And then she just looked at me, but Ben was on the floor with his face flat up, going, "Check Luke's all right." I was like, "You're still on the floor, mate." So yeah, but you had to go to hospital from it as well.
Yeah. It smashed my shoulder up pretty bad.
Did you?
Yeah.
I've never heard this story.
We don't tell a lot of people, but now we have.
Yeah, you've just told everyone.
Yeah, we was croggy a very
lockdown was crazy times.
Yeah, we can't.
Another time when
COVID.
lots of people struggled there as well.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
And that's
maybe that was our way of coping.
Yeah,
Just
crogging,
reversing back to our childhood.
I think I got very sentimental towards that time. I was like going back to times because I think when we grew up in the 80s, you have to say that. But when we grew up in the 80s, like when in the early 90s, you just did what you wanted. You went out. You didn't have all the technology. Yeah. You rang your friend from a phone downstairs. That's how old we are. You know what I mean? And you'd be like, "Hello," and then literally be like, "Remember the dials?"
Yeah.
That's that kind of time was simpler. So we went back and did that, and I just felt like I was back being in that era. Yeah, and I enjoyed that era. But I think that's just a sentimental thing. I don't know, but
and I think that's this generation will miss out on. Ringing your friend and having to meet someone on time because you didn't have phones. If I had to go meet Joe at Standall Park, for instance, I had to meet him at the time I said we would.
Yeah, Daddy didn't turn up.
I would definitely be late. But I had to be there though.
But when like someone's 45 minutes late, like if it was just a little bit late, it was like, I'm taking the piss out.
I was friends with Chris. I wait a day sometimes. Yeah.
Anyway, I want to go back to bring the conversation back to Danny. You talk. So you mentioned the things that are influencing the way we're thinking and temptations and pleasure.
Yeah.
In the same conversation that we're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on? Is this self-inflicted then? Is mental health something that's self-inflicted by the world around us, or is it internal and people can develop it?
No, I think it's exactly the first one. I think it's self-inflicted. And it sounds harsh to say, but it's not self-inflicted purposely. But what I'm saying, your decisions,
what you make, experience.
In my experience, because I have to speak for myself, but what I can say is my decision making and what I was choosing to do was causing me to feel unwell. I don't think mental health is something that you're born with. I don't think it's not a disease, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? I think
it can be, certainly.
Yeah, but I think it's a combination of your environment and environment. So if you're in a safe place, if you're on holiday, for instance, you're not chance to get unwell or mental health. You're in a good place, aren't you?
Yeah.
But then when you come back home,
that's
where the mental health generally kicks in.
Right.
And why is that? Because of your environment and everything that's around you, your decision making, the things you've made decisions in the past.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Put loads of weight on and spent all my money.
What's that, Si?
Spent all my money, put loads of weight on. That's what I do after holiday.
Is that what?
That's why I'd be depressed.
Is that why you do?
Yeah. Right. So can we just wait? So just for clarity, though, we're talking about mental health. So are we really talking about depression and anxiety? Because when we talk about diseases, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, and I've got lots of doubts about psychiatry altogether. But there are things that are diagnosed, like schizophrenia and bipolar, for example.
Yes.
Are that people can say this is a disease that's caused by something else internal. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I feel like what we're talking about here is people that are suffering from depression, circumstantial depression in particular, i.e. your circumstances, and kind of like the sister to depression is anxiety.
Yeah.
So and I think that all these kind of like the triggers and pleasures and temptations that you talk about, are they a contributing factor to depression and anxiety today?
Yes.
Is that kind of like the way the conversation?
That's what I believe in. Yeah. And I'm not saying that everyone's necessarily in that same bracket, but for me, looking back on where I've been and decisions I was making and the places I was putting myself in, that was exactly that reason.
So would it be right in saying then that your story involves you suffering from anxiety and depression? I don't want to put words in your mouth. So so when you refer to your mental health, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, what is mental health? Is it anxiety, depression? It's a great question. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think you're talking about karma, is what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
Well, how you say you can inflict your own anxiety and depression, and it's through bad decisions or it's circumstantial. That's basically saying when you make a bad decision, it comes back and haunts you, doesn't it? Basically, that's basically how karma works.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it wasn't bad decisions in the sense I was doing something negative towards someone else, or a negative. I wasn't doing something that was, you could deem bad.
No.
But I know what you're saying in the essence of how karma works. You're potentially right. Yeah. But the karma wasn't based on the fact that I was probably. I beat someone up or did something. Do you know what I mean? But I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Like you said about the cheating ways, when actually you're feeling down, you can just go and look at some porn or do something at the click of the button, when actually what you should be doing is going out for a jog or, sorting, better meditating.
Yeah, meditating. Yeah. And like I said, I say jog and run a lot, but I think anything that gives you passion, that gives you fulfillment, that's what we don't do enough of. Do you know what I mean?
Discipline.
Discipline is my biggest word, and I'll get onto that. But I think discipline is one of the biggest things that males we're lacking of.
I think we have a massive
What's he laughing at?
No, man, it was something on my phone. We can't talk about it. I can't talk about
So
it.
we won't go into it. We've got time. We've got a timer on the phone.
Yeah,
but we'll leave it at
we had one.
Not about me.
Luke had one
It's
job.
not about me.
Luke had one job was to set the timer.
Yeah, I failed.
It's not about
Obviously.
Well, it's funny because it is at the minute.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just keep nicking the limelight. Like,
He does. He does. He
cold
gets
baths,
jealous.
now it's his phone.
That's my mental health problem.
I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah,
What was I talking about?
I don't know. But so yeah,
Discipline.
we're talking
And
about
what I
discipline.
was
We were
going to
talking
say
about
is-
And
discipline.
my lack of discipline on this
and your
show.
your lack of discipline.
Zero.
Yeah.
However, I think that we misunderstand discipline sometimes because I often hear conversations about, they're a disciplined person and I'm a disciplined person. And we talk about discipline in a general term, but I think discipline is like like something I think everyone has like a discipline bucket that we throw things in there, and when it's full to the top, there are other things that we can't be disciplined in. Everyone's got a tolerance.
So you got a limit.
A limit.
Okay.
David Goggins has got an unbelievable limit.
Yeah.
It's just universal.
Yeah.
His tolerance for it,
Yeah.
for discipline, because he's disciplined in every
So
way.
do you-
Some people have zero. Some people have a less capacity for
So
discipline.
you can create your tolerance then by doing
yeah,
it.
of course.
Okay, yeah. So
You
your
can
bucket
train
can
your-
get bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bigger. You
Yeah.
can train it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I find that because I often question, why am I so disciplined when it comes to working?
Yeah.
Because I'm extremely disciplined when it comes to work, but not undisciplined when it comes to my diet.
Mm.
How are they two completely different mindsets, and where does that come from?
Habits.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe
that's
habits is like a fundamental driver to discipline. But it's what I'm talking about is the switching from different mindsets where you can be disciplined in one thing, like get up and go into an ice bath, but you can't complete one job on your podcast.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Oh,
When you think
thank you
about
for
it.
using me as the point.
Well, I thought that was a great way to
how
explain
relative.
what I'm saying.
Good analogy.
I did
think-
not know that was the end.
The reason why I can't do the timer is because of a past trauma regarding time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. You feel bad now, don't you?
I do. No, I do.
Tell
Yeah.
us the story. What's the story of
Yeah,
that?
he's
Yeah,
not,
I
he's
wanna hear
taking-
this
It's not a story. He's made it up.
Also, I want to know. Also, want to know what was on this phone.
It's not about me. Danny, go on, carry on.
Yeah.
My next question is, what was put on your phone? What? You know?
No,
I don't
we're
know.
moving on.
Yeah.
Right, so then, men's
So-
mental
We're moving on.
So discipline, Danny.
Yes. What's that?
He was going to talk about discipline.
Was I going to talk about discipline?
Yeah.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will happen.
This is what Luke does. This is what Luke does.
He does it so well.
It does, doesn't it? You don't even know where you're going now.
Yeah.
Seamless.
Should have been a bit more disciplined.
Why don't you
Drop onto my story.
drop onto your
Yes.
story?
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, let's hear that.
Do you want to hear the
Let's
story?
Yeah, I
do, you
do,
want
yeah.
to, want to see the vulnerability?
Yes,
The
let's get
vulnerable side?
vulnerable.
So I would say it was around. I always remember the day as well. I haven't gone to this place for a while, to be fair. So it was 2020, and I went to work. Normal day. My youngest was 1. Marley was 3. I think I had 2 or 3 businesses at the time that I was involved in. I think I had a chest infection as well. And I fell out massively with my mum and my dad and my uncle over a business transaction. Was trying to buy a house for one of the businesses, and it was going really bad. And to be fair, when I look back, it was my doing, like my emotions, which I try and discipline a lot more now. There you go, discipline. Because of the emotions between my dad and my uncle, I wasn't able to negotiate very well. So I'm fully aware that I handled that situation wrong.
Yeah.
But then it's part and parcel of learning, isn't it?
Obviously, later on, I'm guessing, not at the time.
What's that, sorry?
You realise that later on.
Yeah. I mean, in the heat of the
reflection.
moment, trying to negotiate with him was horrendous, but I didn't realise I was half the problem because I was taking my emotions, that my connections with my dad and my uncle, into the business transactions. You know what I mean? And I think they was as well. But anyway, that was one thing, as well as the other bits. And I can remember I walked down. It was lunchtime, and I walked down to into town because our office was in town at the time. And then we went to get some lunch. I walked down with a business colleague, Gemma and Adam, and then we come back, and I just sat at my desk and I just started eating. And all of a sudden, Gemma was talking to me, and everything just zoned out. Like I couldn't, like when you see on TV where you just hear this buzzing noise.
Yeah.
And she was talking to me, and I couldn't understand a word she was saying. And my focus was dipping in and out, and I was like, wow, what's going on? And I was like, I could barely stand up and, do, and I ended up standing up, going downstairs and standing outside the office, and I felt like I was going to faint. I thought it was the end, if I'm totally honest.
Wow.
It just come from nowhere. You know, where I was mid-eating something, having something to eat. Jen was talking to me about work, and then all of a sudden, this ringing sound started happening. My focus was like in and out, and the whole world just looked like it was crumbling on me, like it was just, gone from big to small.
Yeah.
And I went outside, and I can remember almost laying on the pavement, and I went white. And I can remember I just, I didn't think, I thought I was just literally going to pass out. And eventually I ended up ringing Adam, and Adam come to me and took me to A&E. And they just said your heart rate was really high.
Adam's your business partner.
Adam was my business partner and still is my business partner. And then he took me home that night. And then for about 2 years, I constantly suffered with panic attacks. Like,
so that's what that was, a panic attack.
I believe so, yeah, a severe one. It was my first experience. And this what goes back to, at the time, this is where I go back to, your 30s, when I was saying that, all these responsibilities. I was early 30s, just got married, had a couple of kids who were, keeping you up at night, all the stresses of having kids, trying to grow some businesses. And then out of nowhere, I just had this episode where I could barely stand up. And it was like, it was pretty scary, to be fair.
Well, the panic attacks, I've gone into it before, and I'm guilty of it, going, panic attack. But I've witnessed them, I've seen them, and like through doctors and everything like that, they say it's very, very close to the real thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what's that?
As in, like, having a heart attack or anything like that. Yeah. They, you know what I mean? They don't say, it's nothing, it's something really bad. Yeah. And you can convince yourself of a lot of things.
They hospitalise people, don't they?
That's what I mean. Yeah, you can actually get strokes that aren't strokes through feeling like that and mental health and stuff like that. So when people say it, I just want to say, like, I've been guilty of it. It's real.
Have you had one? Have you had one, Luke?
No.
Have you ever had one, Joe?
No.
Which is why I've had that opinion. No, it's not. I've witnessed them.
It's not. It's like anxiety on steroids. Like it's like
it sounds intense.
And it was like, and it happened for numerous times. There was a time when I basically, even at work, I couldn't hold down a meeting. So if we was in a board meeting like this, I would storm out after 10 minutes. If someone asked me a question or I had to engage, for many times, if you ask Adam. And Christina, like, I had to walk out of board meetings. I could not literally just have, I couldn't focus.
Wow.
And there was a time where I always remember, we went on, where did we go away? We went on holiday. We had it was Christmas time, New Year's time. We had like a log, I didn't have a log cabin. It was like a big country house.
New Year's,
and we went to, where was it? And we played golf that weekend. Can you remember? I can remember driving all the way there.
Oh. Lincoln Way.
Was it Lincoln Way?
Was that when you got stuck in a truck?
No, that was a different one. That was a different one.
Yeah.
And I can remember driving the whole way there, and my panic attack was that severe, but my missus and kids didn't know about it, that I had tears running down my eyes. Like, it was so intense to the point where... and at the time, what you got to remember, I didn't know these were panic attacks.
Yeah.
I think I'm just losing my marbles.
No, but this is where my question comes from. So the first time it happened,
and
you said you went to the hospital with Adam, what did they say to you?
There's not a lot. You see, your heart rate's gone high, obviously. You know what doctors are like.
Yeah, but don't they tell you this sounds like a panic attack?
No, not at all.
So
they didn't diagnose me whatsoever. They told me to go and chill up. They said, your heart rate...
The NHS is a problem. Yeah.
Well, all right, yeah. Like, let's not get into that.
Yeah, that's another podcast, that is. So, like, my heart rate was just high. Obviously, you're a bit unwell. I had a chest infection at the time, but I think, again, that was run down, overwhelmed.
But if you'd have had that information early on, you would have known better how to deal with it. You'd have understood it better. You could have found coping mechanisms sooner.
Well, this is what I'm here to talk about. Like,
so it's the lack of not knowing what it was.
No, that's the big, and then that enhanced the panic attacks, because it's like when you don't know what something is, that causes even more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the unknown.
I want to know that. I've seen you that weekend. I want to know anything.
Did you not?
Nope.
No, even when I tried...
I was just thinking that. How I didn't know that.
Yeah, did you not? Yeah. I mean, I was very quiet within myself. I mean, the wife and kids, one of the kids not so much, but the wife has been aware of it over the years. Yeah. But I've opened up to over the last couple of months because I'm in a good place now, so I can talk about it. And I think I could probably prevent myself from going back there now because...
You've got confidence.
I've got confidence in myself. And obviously, I think there's times where I look back in them 2 years where I was involved in, believe it or not, like 5 companies or something ridiculous at the time. And I had so much responsibility, and and I just kept piling on more and more and more, and and I was kept looking for external stuff to make me happy. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't. And being a part of all these businesses and the potential money and the windfall, and I'm thinking that's what I need, and actually,
and that's what was making you bad.
That was making me bad. The pressure was making me bad. So that's.
That was you putting the pressure on yourself as well.
Yeah.
No, putting yourself. Yeah.
Can I just ask? You ain't got to answer the question. But do you now look back and ever criticise yourself for the decisions you made to take on 5 businesses, or do you go, no, actually, There's nothing wrong with that. I've learned from it, and it's actually made me grow as a person.
But if I could do it again, would I put the pressure on myself? Yes. Would I put as much on? No. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Who puts the pressure on? With the businesses or yourself?
No, I think was given too many opportunities, which I was grateful of at the time, but it was too much. Like,
you couldn't turn them down, could you?
Yeah, I couldn't turn them down. No, it was
they were too
greed.
good, too many.
Well, no, it wasn't the opportunities were good, but there was the element of greed, I suppose. But it was like I barely got my first company in order to then take another one on, and then obviously me and Joe do something, but I'm more in the background of that. So my responsibilities lay a lot less than what Joe's are, but it's still in your mind. So I'm still aware.
Thin,
I spread myself thin, and then obviously with all the with the day to day having kids and your wife and the worries of bringing cash in and social life and all that, like it just got really, really overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? So I do regret taking it that far, but I am aware that if you don't push yourself and learn and put yourself in comfortable positions, then you're never going to grow. So do you know what I mean? To answer your question, it's a bit like I do regret it, but at the same time, I'm glad I did it because I wouldn't have the experience I got now. Would I advise taking yourself to that far? No. But you should definitely push yourself on a daily basis, whether that be a cold bath, learning something new, I don't know, whatever it may be.
Yeah, so you shouldn't shy away from anything.
You shouldn't shy away from uncomfortableness. Do you know what I mean? It's a big factor.
During this period,
I
imagine that, I say imagine, I ask the question, the voice that we all have in our heads, the noise in our heads and the way we talk, our self-talk.
Yeah.
Did your self-talk change during that period of time? And how dark did it get, and what are you willing to share that?
Yeah, I am. I didn't drink a lot because I've always believed that I drank a lot because it was a mechanism of switching that voice off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was the only time I got a rest from myself. Do you know what I mean? And that's a big thing with mental health, and that's what I want to pass out is like, if you need to find something external to make yourself happy or content or just to chill out, then you need to change it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
can I challenge that slightly?
Yeah, of course.
Not challenge the concept. The concept is absolutely right, but the only way you can really fully achieve what you've just said is if I become a monk in the mountains. Surely, because we put ourselves in a situation in society where, like you said, there's temptations everywhere. Right now, I'm drinking Coke Zero because I like drinking Coke, and I can go buy it from the shop.
Advert.
Or Pepsi. Yeah. No bias.
Whoever's paying most.
But really, that's not really good for me, is it? It's not really good for me, is it? But if you remove temptations, if you remove them, maybe you could achieve that aspect of never needing anything external.
Well, there's levels.
What I'm saying, is it realistic?
Yeah, of course it is, because there's different levels of temptation, isn't there? So
you don't have to feed.
So no, there's temptation of the alcohol, the drugs, and the porn, and all that kind of thing. Then you've got different temptations like food and different categories of food.
Yeah.
So I'm not a monk, but I don't find anything external. If I want to go for a drink, it's because it's on my terms, because I want to have a drink. It's not because I want to settle down and just I need to switch off because I've had a busy week. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying you have to.
The scenario that I've got in my head is every now and again I reward myself because I know I work hard and I've got three kids at home and I'm always on the move.
That's
So every now and again I think, well, I'm dossing on the sofa tonight. I'm not going to get up at 4:30 like my normal mornings. I'm going to sit and watch Netflix till midnight or whatever. That's a reward to turn myself off. But do I need that external reward or do I not?
I was going to say, like, you need a beer. You never need a beer. You need water. You don't need a beer.
I
understand what you're saying.
You're getting yang, innit?
You've given yourself, if you've done 90% of good in a day, you're giving you 10% of the things that aren't good. You know what I mean? That kind of way.
Yeah.
Like giving yourself a fair crack. Because like you say, you always go up to the monk in the hills, don't you?
Yeah.
Everyone goes, I'll be a monk in the hills. You know what I mean?
I always say, in a light-hearted way, all men have got a little dosser inside them. Love just to sit on their arse and do nothing. We will play PlayStation and drink beer and not give a shit.
Do you want to know a fact? Just to go that scene today, you're going to be impressed by it. I'm probably going to get it all wrong now, but it's not a problem. But no, there's been a massive study into why males start playing computers and stuff like that because they've got no priority in life. They've lost the responsibility. So what happens is you're as a male, women in this society can follow rules pretty well. They've always been able to, and it's set up in that way. Follow these rules, don't question them, just follow them. And they're like, yeah, cool, I'll do that. But male question things, and the minute that they question things, they feel less responsibility because they don't know why they're doing it, and then they opt to go back to home or play the computer and escape the world that isn't making sense. So that's been understood as escapism.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So that there's a part of us.
No,
what I'm saying is, I think that sometimes we need to feed that part of us to keep it tame. I think I need to sit.
10, though.
I need to
feed
sit
it after
down.
10.
I need to sit down and have a few hours to just relax.
You're rewarding yourself.
What I'm saying is rewarding myself.
Yeah.
And drinking. I mean, my mindset towards drinking has changed as I got older. It's so bad for you. But every night, once a week, I might have a pint.
But your rewards are good rewards, and that's the difference. Because if someone's rewarding themselves with bad rewards,
like
then
abusing
themselves or taking drugs or doing that and going, look, I've had a bad week. Friday night, I deserve some drugs. Like that's going to create mental health because your rewards aren't actually rewards.
The issue with this is, though, with men in particular, men are generally more risky than women. And when we're looking at these record numbers of suicides in men, a lot of that's related to the fact that men are more likely to sleep rough, where it's dangerous, drug overdose, which is dangerous. Men take more risky behaviours that can lead to more severe consequences. And that's why I think that we're seeing this kind of like in society. There's a lot of talk about men's mental health, concern around male suicides.
I learned 3 men a week in the construction industry commit suicide.
I've seen that the other day on LinkedIn. That's really interesting.
Yeah. What, in the UK now?
UK.
Yeah. 3 a week.
Yeah. A week.
It's a lot.
Wow. I had to check it because of that reason. Yeah.
But to go back what you're saying, Joe, I think what you just said there is that you're in control of having that drink. It's like, and we don't want to keep referring to drink. It's anything that's deemed negative.
Discipline again.
But what I'm saying, to go down to discipline, it's like, and I meant, when you have a reward, it's on your terms. You're not doing it because you're escaping. That's my biggest thing. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying you shouldn't, because I do enjoy a drink. My birthday's coming up in a few weeks, and, I'm going to get pretty pissed. Like, there's no two ways about it. What I'm getting at is that are you doing certain things because you're trying to switch off? And the reason I say that,
or need, innit?
It's a want or a need.
Yeah,
and
if you want it, that's fine. If you need it,
I'm
that's a problem.
going back to my time, and I was drinking to black the fuck out.
Yeah.
I used to wake up on a settee quite a few times going, fuck it, what time is it? Like, why have I still got my clothes on? And I don't remember. There's a few times.
You were getting to stateside, I'd never seen you before.
You were saying, I've got a new mate.
Because I said, I got a brand new mate. Like, his personality changed. When he had a drink, his personality changed.
That was good help, wasn't it?
I mean, Joe was like, carry on, I love this guy.
Yeah, he's great support.
But that's a true thing to say. See, with mental health, with guys, with everything like that, it's a laugh, isn't it? You see the guy in the pub and you go, that guy's a laugh. He's getting naked, he's having a good crack. He is the man. And then about 4 months ago, a couple of years, and you go, that guy's sad as shit. That's what's happening there.
That guy's lost his mind.
But it takes a lot of time. And we, as men, we go, it's a good laugh.
I saw a stat that basically men are so much more poorer than women at identifying when they've got a mental health problem. Because the study showed that when you talk about mental health, your ability to identify yourself increases. So because women talk more, they can identify mental health issues with themselves way faster than men can.
Okay.
Wow. Because the language in our mind, we don't talk about it.
Why can't we read a map then?
So
we'll talk about that more.
Right, challenge.
Yeah.
We need a woman to come and show us she can read a map.
An orienteer.
Orienteer. Steady.
What's the TV?
Danny, I want to know, what was your choice of tip-up when you was blacking out, by the way?
What was the choice of what, sorry?
Choice of you drink. What
IPA.
was your Is that what? Is that all
Funny
it was?
enough,
Just beer.
Yeah, funny.
None of the hardcore stuff.
You had a bad time on IPA.
IPA.
You can't have that
IPA
story. Get rid of that.
To be fair,
No one's ever gone on a binge on IPA.
me and Joe used to do it, Joe. Excuse me.
Just because you've got an
pipes,
issue.
pipe fighting.
Listen, just because you've got an issue with IPA.
Well, no,
just
but
get
you
over
don't
it.
see
I
many
tell you
people
what-
going on a binge on IPA. Oh, what
Well,
you
no,
got?
listen,
20
there was plenty of other bits along the way, but what I'm saying,
Fishing.
the initial the initial start was IPA. Like that's where.
I tell you what, that's a gateway drug. On to harder stouts next.
To be fair, I always said it was laced with something different after.
Yeah.
I tell you what,
Listen,
next time we go out, we're going to have a couple of
old men's
IPAs.
beers.
It gets you into a different
I'll tell you what. Next time we go out, then just IPAs all night.
I'll take you up on that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we do it.
IPAs all night.
We'll
That's
film
another
it.
thing.
We'll
Yeah.
film it.
Is it just like
We'll
flat
come back
lager,
and
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not like flat lager. It's laced.
I know what IPA is.
We'll
flat
get him the
lager.
strong stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
I tell you
I'm
what, I
game.
wear a jumper with leather patches on my elbows. Just to blend in.
To be careful, wear your
Yeah.
cardigan. You got your
I will
cardigan
do,
still. You
yeah.
still got them.
Yeah.
Luke used to love a cardigan.
I did.
He had a full collection of cardigans. It was about 20.
If you ask Chris Mullins, he's got plenty
Cardigan
of pictures.
phase.
cardigan face.
Everyone went
He
through
was
one.
so young.
Mental health look. Look, you see, at the time, I really liked cardigans. Everyone had a go at me. I had to get rid of my cardigan.
That was your coping mechanism. Cardigan.
Luckily, I never turned to IPA.
Funny
again.
enough, I was looking at cardigans from birthday. I knew one, to be fair. So
Yeah,
I might
you
bring
got
it
back around.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
bringing it
That
back.
happens with fashion, though, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Always comes back.
So, going back to the conversation,
Yeah.
the Priory Group is a private hospital who have like the rehab centres and things. I saw some stats that they were talking about when it came to men's mental health in particular. And they state that work, finance, and health are the three main reasons of causing depression in men.
Mm.
So work-related stress, personal finances, and their own personal health. So what are your thoughts on that? And also, what are your thoughts on actually that study's forgot something completely fundamental in this? Is actually what about people's historical lives? What about childhood trauma and abuse and neglect, all those things? And does that cause depression to come out later on in life? And that's guised by, it's work stress.
Yeah.
It's money stress. Like, how much is that playing a part? And how much do you think, when you look back at your life, do you think there's anything that's contributed to your circumstance now? Or not now, sorry, when that period of time that you went through where you were suffering from anxiety?
Funny enough, Jenny asked me this on the way out, to be fair, before I came today. Like, do you think anything from your childhood has affected you as you've grown up? Yeah, I think there's some parts of me that are probably decisions I make or things that I say or do will be from my childhood, because things that I've seen, which, I probably wouldn't discuss it on this podcast. But yeah, do I constantly know that I'm doing it because of my childhood? No, I think it'd be hard, wouldn't it? I think you'd have to really go deep in yourself to sit here now and say to yourself, I do this because of my childhood. I'm sure there's a few things that are on the surface that you're aware of, that, my dad used to do this or my mum used to do that, so I now do this myself. But to contribute towards your depression, anxiety, I think that's quite, you'd have to dig pretty deep to find that.
You've read the Chimp Paradox, haven't you? You've read
No, I haven't, but I know you've read it.
Yeah, so there's the chimp, the human, and the computer.
Yeah.
And that says that the chimp is formed up to, I don't think it comes into your brain until about 3 or 4 years old. So you then form that chimp with all your interactions. So to say,
but you got to tell people what this chimp is if they've not read the book.
Well, it's a way of forming your brain. So basically,
it's your consciousness.
I
I think it's 7. I think from the age of 7, you form a consciousness. That's when your brain changes. That's why you find your kids will struggle at sleep at 7. Marley's struggling to sleep at the moment because she's very aware of everything. She's created a consciousness where from 0 to 7, they are just like a sponge, and what they're doing, they're observing everything. They're not, it's like they're.
This is why I asked that question, because if you think about, so basically, have you ever heard of the term adverse childhood experiences?
Yeah,
called ACEs. This is what we do at work. And basically, it's 5, and they're one's parental separation, one's witnessing domestic abuse, one's witnessing drug abuse, one's an immediate family member going to prison, and there's another one that I forgot.
Is this why you're younger?
So when you're a child, so if any of those things happen to you, and it's an equation that if any child has 3 of those ACEs or more, a crazy percentage of them end up in prison.
Okay.
Wow.
So the maths show, the statistics show it.
Wow.
Most people have been exposed to at least one, and I think parental separation would probably be the most common one.
Yeah.
And then domestic violence is probably come up in second place. But yeah, so there's affects if there's 1, but that's most people. Affects if there's 2, but the 3, that's when a lot of these children who end up going into the care system and all that sort of stuff. So the reason why I asked that question, and it's good that you reflect on your own kids as well, and now that perspective as a father. Is do you think that we should be talking about that more? Because we're talking about men's mental health and we're talking about coping and all that sort of stuff. Why aren't we talking about that more? What our childhood experiences and the things that we've been through in life. Do you think it's important?
I think it is important, but I think it's quite. It's not just something you can just have a few conversations. I think you'd have to really go down and speak with someone, qualified in the sense that like a psychiatrist.
Also, I think
because you're going deep into your childhood, aren't you? Because
But I think we should say to everyone as well, when you say talking to people, and everyone should talk about their mental health and stuff like that. But until you speak to someone outside of your circle, somebody who is not you, don't be. That's what you don't want to be afraid of. You want to be going to speak to these people that don't know anything about you, and that's scary. But that actually is the better way of dealing with a problem because they've got no influences with anyone else, and they can take and especially a good therapist or anyone that's been trained in it will be able to get you where you need to be. So don't be afraid of it. Because I think talking to other people, you're going to get their responses and you're going to get their trauma as well.
Yeah.
So going to someone who's a professional, you're going to get just that professional.
You got a neutral voice, haven't you?
Neutral voice, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think what you were saying about how you said it could be down to the childhood trauma. I think that could
is it? That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think it could be a factor. I don't think that'd be the sole reason. It could be a number of things, could it? You could literally be just putting yourself through too much stress and pressure at the time. That could bring it on. I think you're right. That might be a reason.
The question I was actually asking, and that one for notice for everyone is, why do you think we don't talk about that enough?
Because we don't know. Because it's been shielded so much by other stuff. So to get down there, like Danny said,
it's been
forgotten. But then that's the worst. Because it's like a groove within your brain that you've added other things on continually. So to get to that part is what, and especially nowadays, in when people used to say, oh, in the olden days, people used to get depressed. Look, listen, they did. But the problem is, there wasn't the ability to have to look at everyone else's issues. There was just a very simple life, and people did get depressed and drank on their own, not IPA, just normal drinks, and they just got on with their lives. And domestic abuse was rife, and people stuff like that. So
it's all been happening.
It's all been happening, yeah. But I think what people get afraid of, there's so many things. Oh, it's moving so quick now that's getting put on top.
I agree.
I totally and that
agree.
groove at the bottom that's causing all the issues, like the pee. The old saying with the bed and the pee. And the princess could feel it. That's them problems, and you can feel it at the top, and people don't realise the pee. Find your pee.
I think it'd be healthy for everyone to somehow go back to the childhood with someone and explore that. I think it'd be healthy to let go of all them hidden consciousness things subconscious things that you're not aware of. Do you know what I mean? That causes you to do and say or act certain ways that are negative toward you because of your mum used to, I don't know, say a certain thing to you that made you upset. So now you bring that into adulthood, but you're not aware of that you're doing it.
Yeah, you're not aware.
And we'll all do it. Yeah. You'd be lying if you don't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I agree. It'd be really something to explore. Yeah. And then going back to what you said, when I said to Ben about, you asked me if it's like what do you call it? If it's your environment or is it down to the fact that it's a disease? But you touched on there that study. They said it's to do with finance.
So
it's all external based stuff.
External based stuff.
That's what I'm saying. And that's where I'm going. It's all external based stuff. Your environment causes generally your depression. And
I think your men are more simple as well. The three things. I mean, what was the study on women? I bet there wasn't. Was there?
I don't know.
I don't think we finished that one yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I just looked at
just went three things: money, work.
Just to let you know, I'm neutralised.
There's 158.
He's still a guy now, beavering away. He's like, find another one. Oh god.
To be fair, I think women have got their own problems.
And
I respect their challenges.
Definitely.
I got raised by a strong woman. I mean, she was amazing. So I would never
backtracking.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But men have got
see all the comments on.
Men have got their own specific challenges.
Exactly. Yeah, and like I say, what we're talking about, it takes nothing away from women's challenges.
Agreed.
It's just this is ours.
What are our challenges as men today? What do you think our challenges are?
Obviously, finance is the biggest one, isn't it?
Is it like survival finance?
Survival finance. I think
keeping up with the Joneses finance.
That one there. I think
a bit of both, isn't it? Really, because both causes one, causes the other, and you go in that loop, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
But you know what? There is a lot of pressure, though, isn't there? Because of we've all got so much access to each other and all that sort of stuff. In order to, if you want to be in the top 25% of earners in the UK, you have to earn £76,000 or more. Right, in your top 25%. A 4-bedroom. So if you get a 400 grand mortgage, if you want a nice house for your freak, if you're a nice 4-bedroom house in a nice area, you need a 400 grand mortgage. Yeah, you need to be earning today between 88 and £100,000.
Yeah.
So you're going up in the top 20% of earners in the country just to
compete. Some people say, why should you have that? But it's gone that extreme now that nothing is relative. So that's why the male people, you know what I mean, males and everything like that, they've lost responsibility because that's an unattainable dream now. You're continually in debt, student debt, house debt, debt. You used to be able to own something. You had at least an ability to own something, and that was a journey that you got disciplined about because you knew there was an end result. Now there's no end result. You're paying off debt. What's the point?
Yeah, but so what you're saying is that the cause then is something external. That pressure that man's feeling in that situation isn't his fault. It's something else.
It's uncontrollable. They're the worst kind of problems. No, listen, I don't agree with that. No, I think the majority of people find it uncontrollable. I thought, listen,
you're talking about social pressure.
It's completely in your control. Everything is in your control. If anyone's listening, everything you do is in your control. The only person that can save you is yourself. But what I'm saying is, with external pressures of Instagram and people get lost in that. I've got to be able to do that. I've got to have that car. I've got to have that house. You know what I mean? We're talking from an older point of view. People are getting thrust into this at 19, 20 years old. And just going, look at them trainers. Look at that Nike. I need that. And all the consumerism is going up.
Why is that though? Because I don't feel like that.
What? No, because you're not from that generation, but you didn't. When we was at school, 80, 90 quid pair of trainers was expensive. Now, £1,000 trainers
it's crazy.
Is nothing.
It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, the parameters have changed massively, but without teaching the children what they need to know when they leave school.
Yeah, but also putting pressure. So I say men are putting pressure on themselves because they feel like they need to be able to provide for their families at the same level as everybody else is. And that is a huge pressure.
Well, I was about to say that's the biggest one for me was providing for your family.
But yesterday's dreams are gone. Yesterday's dream was to own a house, have a car, and that was what we got brought up with. That is an unattainable dream now for a lot of people with the
What you mean? What for our age group or just younger generations? I
think for us,
it's going to get harder.
Yes,
is what we're saying.
Yeah, it's going to get a lot harder for them. Not that we didn't have it hard or anything like that, but there was an attainable version of what you thought you could achieve, and you've seen people around you with it. Do you know what I mean? People had a house, people had a car, people had a good way of living that you could go with just a normal job. Now your normal job, you don't have that.
I got my first mortgage on I think you reckon that on a fag packet.
Yeah,
that's how easy it was.
Exactly. Now they are checking all your habits that are hard to have.
Yeah.
So everyone's getting all these habits. They're all watching porn. They're all going on betting apps, all doing that. And now they're going, you can't have a mortgage because you've got these habits that we've fed you. Yeah. You've got no control over because we haven't taught you how to do it. There you go.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
I think it's a good point, but I don't think it's as severe as that. I think that I think that we should take responsibility, and I think everything's in our control.
Agreed.
And I think that everything's achievable. The parameters have just changed. The game has changed.
But who's teaching people the game instead of feeding their habits?
Yeah,
that's what my point is.
But it's your responsibility to teach yourself the game.
Yeah, but not if you don't even know the game in the first place. What I'm saying is, that's what we're doing here. You can learn it.
We're living in a world of information.
Yes, yeah.
You can learn the game.
But the information is clouded with me being in an ice bath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is the information's there, but what happens is the temptations are there also.
Yeah.
And people, I'm not being horrible, get lazy. And what they want to do is just pleasure, temptation. And go, actually, wait a minute, let's smooth all that. I'm going to get to work and learn the game. I don't care if, so it's hard to buy a house now. It's hard to buy a car. It's hard to do this, but it's all doable, is what I'm saying.
Agreed. Everything is doable and everything you control. My point is just at the very early age now, they are shoving any kind of trainers, money grabbing scenarios into your brain before you have a chance to just understand it.
And I agree with that.
So you say it's going to get worse for men?
Yes, I feel so.
And I agree with that, but I think as dads at our age now, it's our responsibility to make them aware of that then, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? We've got to take responsibility. Like you just said that's what's happening, but how do we then push back? I'm not saying
it's harder.
I'm not going to say you're going to be able to, stop them from seeing any of that. It's without question, but then it's us as adults and dads.
That's easier said than done.
I know it is, I know, but I'm just saying.
We do that for our businesses, apprentices. You bring people through. At our age, apprenticeships were just a given. You left school and you had an apprenticeship, or you could go to university. You had a pathway. You had a responsibility, a way that you can go. Now there's just be a 14-year-old. I want to be a YouTube star. So I mean. They're attainable, but they also take the discipline that it takes to have a job. But if you haven't been taught that discipline, it's very difficult to understand how you get to that place. That's what we're doing, aren't we?
Yeah,
if
exactly.
anyone wants to listen and ask us,
this is the idea of today.
We're still finding out now. So that should let everyone know. It carries on, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think life is a journey into it, and I don't think you ever master it at any point. I think you're always learning, aren't you?
And you know nothing. Educating idiots.
It's always evolving, isn't it? It's always changing.
Yeah, and I think you should always enter any conversation knowing that you know nothing, and then you're willing to then maybe learn something. Do you know what I mean? Because if you feel like you know everything, then you know what I mean. You just
So in your case, then, so all this stuff that we're talking about got so intense for you. That's what led to panic attacks.
It was, and to be fair, what turned it around? So this happened for 2 years of just really bad habits like drinking, smoking, drugs, you name it. Like I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it a lot. But I was doing it enough where it was like I did it hard enough for say on a Friday or a Saturday where the whole week was wiped out, and then I was just trying to build myself back up, and then the Saturday would come again, and I'd fall back on my arse and do it again, and it's just repetitive. Do you know what I mean? You'd keep going and going. And then there was something that happened. It was dead strange. So me and Joe kind of was looking at another opportunity of some land and bits, and I then took something else on, and I had all that stress on. And again, bear in mind, we
went a bit wild though. We bought £1 million piece of land with no money.
Yeah, well, that's the mindset that I had. So I made
Joe, we don't need the money. This is how we're going to do it. Bam, 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 bam.
So I thought we'd offset some money against the business.
Hold on, did you get the land?
Well, I did. They accepted my offer.
Well, then that's fucking amazing. Well,
to be fair, I said, Joe, it's one of the best things I ever did. So I bought this piece of land and I didn't even have the money. I just said, when I do this and this and this, can I give you the money? I was like, yeah, fine. So I bought this £1 million piece of land, but. Joking apart, then we started doing the designs on the house and the land and doing this and the other. And then it all come crashing down, to be fair. And I can remember there was one day I was getting ready, the kids and the wife already went out. And this was at the turning point, but also the end of the horrendous journey that I had. Yeah. My phone was going, and then I think I spoke with Joe, and what was trying to do didn't kind of pull off. And I can remember just laying there on my bed, and then it was the strangest thing. And then I just rolled off the end of my bed, and I laid on my bedroom floor for about an hour, and I couldn't do anymore. Couldn't do it. Where to the point I actually said to myself, I was thinking about my kids. And I'm not saying I wanted to commit suicide or kill myself, but I had enough. Yeah. I had enough of everything. I was just laying there, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want my phone. I don't want my life. I have put myself in a position where I don't want any of it. My phone kept going, and everybody wanted a piece of me. It was just, I was done. And I've never experienced that before. And weirdly enough, like I said, I wasn't in a place where I wanted to harm myself, but all I could think about was my kids. And it was so strange. It was like, and to be fair, there was something, I laid there after about an hour, and I was just controlling uncontrollably, just crying.
Was you on your own?
I was on my own, yeah. The kids and the wife have gone out. I ended up just turning my phone off, and I was just laying there, and I was exhausted. Yeah. I exhausted every single avenue, every single thing that I could think of. And I was just, emotionally drained. Yeah. And weirdly enough, and then when I think you hit the bottom, I mean the bottom. They say this a lot of these stories, like, alcoholics and also. I hit that rock bottom to the point where I did let go. I was like, fuck it. And it's something inside me, I just said, forget my kid, forget my wife, just forget everything for 1 minute. Just forget it all. And I did. And I went in this state of bliss, of just, just letting go. Yeah. Just letting go of everything. Fuck it. Just let go. For 1 minute, if you don't think about your family, your kids, your responsibilities, how would that feel? I
don't think I've ever had, but just saying
that then. And I just let go of it and thought, fuck it. I mean, I meditate a lot now. And when I meditate, I do a lot of mantra of letting go. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I don't care. It just means I'm allowed to let myself go.
Taking the weight off your shoulders for a bit.
Here you go. Here's Danny G, the life.
Let me just shelf that. Yeah.
And then I'm just the human spiritual being that I am. Yeah. And that, but I went to that place there, and then I ended up getting up, and I ended up going to work, and then ended up coming out of a couple of businesses. I was like, right, you can't have any of me anymore because I can't do this. I need to retract. Yeah. And then unfortunately, a couple of months down the road, a couple of companies went into administration through one thing or another. Yeah. Which kind of wasn't my fault, but something to do with money side of things above me. And they went, and at the time, I wasn't even panicking. I was like, this is life.
You were so calm, Joe.
I was so calm. And funny enough, I was reading this book, Joe Dispenza. Can you remember the Joe Dispenza book that I give you? Yeah. And I started reading that, and I was meditating. The thing was, through all this negativity and all this bad time that I had, I was still practicing good things. So as much as I was doing bad habits, I was still meditating.
Kept your good ones.
I was still keeping my good ones, but the problem was the bad one was overweighing the good ones. But what I believe now when I look back is that because I continued with the good things, the good kind of shone through in the end. Does that make sense? The continuous meditating and all that kind of shone through, and I was reading the right books, and me and Joe were always talking about spiritual stuff. So I kept believing in that, and somehow I don't know, your higher self, something came along and just, dropped me to my bottom, to, the bottom that I was, and then started building me back up. And then I had the courage to go, actually, my ego, I don't want that business. I don't, it's messing with me mentally. I don't need to take that business back. And then, fate took the other 2 businesses, they went into administration. But it was, like you said, I was the most calmest I've ever been. Like 2 of my companies were going bust. And really, I could have been on, I could have gone to that place again, but I didn't. I was meditating outside. I was going for runs, and something inside me just kind of like acceptance. And I let go, and I was letting go of all the entanglement that I was involved in. And I stopped drinking, and I stopped doing all the bad habits. And all of a sudden, I've seen things very clearly. And for this last 6 to 8 months, I talk about what I do now on a day-to-day basis, but I just see things very clearly because I do stuff on my terms now. Do you know?
It's amazing when we can learn to accept a bad scenario. Like, it liberates you, doesn't it?
Frees you.
Frees you.
Very freeing.
And like I say, you have to go to the worst place.
So tell us a little bit about what you do now, then, Danny. Because obviously you spoke about meditation. You know my views on that. Meditation's changed my life. I think that everyone should be taught it in schools and all sorts. What else do you do now? Would you say that's helped you?
Well, all the things that I've watched. So I watch a lot of Joe Dispenza, Jordan Peterson, all kinds of, inspirational people. And what I've took from them is there's 3 factors that I try and do. So I try align my mind, my body and my soul, right? So what I do, for instance, I've got a journal here. And then what I've written down is what I think is good for my mind. So you've got meditation, reading, getting up early, all the things that puts my mind into a good position, a good place. Yeah. And then I've got my body. Like, what does my body need to act, to be on good terms? So
you do this. How often do you do this?
So I'll do it every day. So what I've done at the start of my journal, I write down all the good things that I want that will get my mind in the right place. Things will put my body in a good place, like no smoking, no drinking, fasting, meditating, discipline, and then the soul. What does the soul need? Do you know what I mean? Like, I need to treat love and gratitude. I need to be present. I need to be with my kids. All them things there. And then what I do on a daily basis is I will choose a number of things off this first list, and I need to achieve that on a daily basis. So, for instance, I need to wake up at 5:30. I need to do meditation. I need to read, have a cold shower, fast, do keto. That's the diet I prefer more than anyone. Exercise, and then I need to practice letting go or manifesting the day. And at the end of every day, I'll tick what I've done, what I've achieved. And then I'll set my goal out for the day, and I'll write about what went well and what didn't go well. And then generally just my thoughts of what did I feel throughout the day. Because I think what we struggle with is that how can you change without knowing who you really are? Now, in our heads, we think we know who we are. But if you write down all your emotions that you feel on a daily basis, saying, that pissed me off today, that I enjoyed. But if you just reflect on every day before I get in bed, everything that went well and everything didn't go well, you're able to then take that into the next and go, actually, I'm not engaged with that person and fall out of them because that pissed me off, that upset me. So I know to control my emotions at this particular time. And that's all.
Identifying triggers,
identifying triggers, and what went
well. It's like a form of revising. Normally, you just keep that voice in your head. If you're penning it down, getting it out on paper, not only are you releasing it, but you can look back on it and go, here's where I was good, here's where I was bad. It's improved, self-improvement.
Very rarely
you taught that at school, aren't you?
Yeah, you do, That's simple, but so effective and so difficult for people to do.
I was thinking that myself.
You're looking in the mirror, I'll be honest with you.
It's such a good thing.
Listen, it costs what? A couple of quid for a pen and a pad and just your time. But
10 minutes, and the best time to do it is 10 minutes before I go to bed, because obviously that's when you go into this sleep subconscious, don't you? And then that's when you take everything with you that you've learned that day. So if the last thing you do on a day is positive, then you'll take that into your next day.
When did you start doing that?
I've been doing it for about 6 to 8 months since I hit that rock bottom. Wow. Again, I kind of hit that thing, but then it's grown. So this is just this year's, because obviously if you write down every day,
of course,
and there's some days that I don't achieve it. Look, that day, and I did 4 things that I set out to do. But then I just know the next day I got to make sure I've got to achieve more, and then why I'm not achieving it.
And also as well, your self-talk for what you did wrong would be so much worse unless you could go back and look at it. Because like say, what people think and say are 2 different things. You can say, I mean, those people that just think what they say, you know who they are, because you go, wow, that's unusual. People say stuff but think differently. But you can go back on that and check yourself, and with a bit more of a kind of human heart, rather than you going, I never did anything all day. You know what I mean? That's
what you've actually done there is, in a very practical way, is you've had this experience of where you had the panic attacks and where you were struggling. You said you hit rock bottom, and now you're actually getting up and you're structuring your own experience every day, aren't you? Yeah, you're going. This is how I'm going to spend my day today.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to strive to experience.
On my
and you're not
terms
leaving
again.
it to chance.
No.
You're literally controlling the best you possibly can how your day's going to go and what you're going to bring into your life.
And it's amazing, if you go to bed at night and say that you're going to go for a run and you're going to meditate, and then you go to bed the next day and you haven't done that, you get pissed off with yourself. Trust me, you feel like you've let yourself down. If you're a responsible, disciplined person, or you're trying to be, and you don't achieve what you set out to do, that'll piss you off. So the next day, trust me, you then go, I'm going to do that. So even if you start off low and just do 5 things.
You don't remember if you don't write it down.
No.
That's the thing, isn't it?
The key is you've got to write stuff down because, we're in control of this body. If we're honest with ourselves, we don't understand how the brain works, we don't understand how all the organs work. We've got a really complex thing that we've got and we don't really understand it. And the only way to understand it is when things trigger or emotions happen or you get in a situation that, good or bad, you've got to write it down. You're taught at school to write stuff down.
The words, without sounding like it's the words of the mirror your soul. You're writing down what you actually think, and then you're looking back because otherwise you don't know because your brain just
you don't because then your thoughts are like
it's like a form of manifestation as well, isn't it?
Well, it's a sort of manifestation.
Well, I was about to say, I think that from a practical level and a spiritual level, that sort of behaviour can only lead to very good and positive things in your life.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously shit happens.
Yeah, shit happens.
You've
you're only a day away.
raised your chances of attracting good things into your life,
and you're only a day away from realising that you're in trouble.
Yeah,
Because you read that day before.
That's a really good point. You're going off on the wrong path, on the wrong tangent.
And bad stuff happens still, but I'm able to digest it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's a bad situation. How do I overcome it? Because my brain's not jumping around, panicking about other stuff. Do you know what I mean? I've actually realised since all these companies have gone and I've left with what I've got, I'm actually more better off than I ever was. Do you know what I mean? I'm just piling all these things.
Because you've had that sole focus into one
I'm
thing.
in control of my ego a lot more than what I used to. My ego wanted all them businesses. I didn't really need all them businesses. Like, I could have just do what I do now.
Yeah.
And I know when I step into some... And also, it's understanding people. Like, I was involved with people that... Not all of them, but some of them that didn't have the same vibration as me or the same outlook of how they want their life to go. Do you know what I mean? And I've learned a lot about me and who I want to be around from a friend's point of view or a work point of view. So, I've learned, I don't regret anything I've gone through. Would I have gone through it a different way? Ideally, yes. But,
hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing. But like I say, I've been taught such a lesson that actually I've learned so much, and now I know what direction I want to go in.
You got through the IPA days.
I got through
Come out of your own.
Do you still drink IPA, don't you?
Occasionally, but I can go a bit wild on the IPA.
You know what? I think that I think we kind of scratched the surface a bit tonight, and I'd love to have another conversation in more detail around the positive things that we do because we didn't get enough time to talk about that. I think that leaves it really.
Well, we can talk about the flotation tanks and
we'll come back and report on the flotation tanks.
We need to do the flotation tanks, and you can talk about it because we'll go and do it, and then
we'll all have a day out together and do it.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's a good place to leave it.
I'm going for it.
And I think that. I think we should talk about more of the positive stuff next time as well.
Let's do it.
So thank you very much for coming on.
No,
thank you, Danny. Pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Thought we'd ended it before that. I have died.
Don't edit that out.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.